Adjust it. Man. Alright. That should be good enough. I wish this was a little bit angled a little bit higher. Alright, so I guess I'll give everybody a minute to come in. Before I get started here. Today's incense, we're burning this Black Opium by Satya or something like that. I got my notes ready. So today is kind of like, I don't know, I felt very pulled to just talk about this card. The Three of Swords. I definitely feel like people need to hear about this one. I'm not gonna rush this one tonight. Yesterday I was kind of like, but tonight we're talking about the Three of Swords. Some messages don't really need a full spread. They just need to be felt. And so people think that this is just a heartbreak card, but it's not. A lot of times it can be the moment where something clicks and you wish it didn't. It's like you finally understand something, but it hurts more because now you can't unsee it. Okay, there we go. I wish I could lower this down more. Oh well. So this card is one that it's like, did something ever happen where you just sat there and you're like, wow, okay, that moment, yeah, that's this card. It's laying in bed, replaying everything, staring at your phone, rereading messages, wondering what changed. And you're not just missing them, right? You're not just missing them. You are trying to understand them. And that's what's exhausting. Because you're trying to make sense of something that didn't make sense when it was happening. And that's why you can't find the answer. This card is sharp for a reason. These swords here, they don't just hurt. They don't just cause pain. They reveal. Like, some of you are realizing that they weren't as invested in you. They weren't as consistent as you. they weren't as honest as you needed. Did it feel like you were the only one holding it together? Yeah. That imbalance, that's the wound. I'm just looking at my notes. You don't lose, and here's the thing. You don't lose something perfect. You didn't lose something perfect. You lost something that was unbalanced. And I need to say this too, this isn't just heartbreak. Like when you have a relationship that ends, it's not just heartbreak. It's grief. Because your relationship ended. The relationship that you knew died. The future that you were building in your head with this person, gone. It's grief. It's grief of what you could have had. It's grief of the potential. And you're grieving, right? What you thought it was, what it could have been, everything I just listed, what you wanted it to become. Do you feel like you lost the future that you imagined with them? Of course you did. It died, And that's why this card hits so deep. This card isn't just about them either. It's, where did you ignore yourself? Where did you stay quiet when something bothered you? Where did you accept less than you deserved? Where did you hope something would change instead of addressing it? So when you draw this card, these are things you got to ask yourself. And be honest, when you're in these relationships, and did you feel like something was wrong and it was off, but you stayed anyway? And no judgment. We've all been there. We've all accepted less than what we deserve. And we all accepted it because we were blind to the truth that this card reveals. And I'm going to say something that might sting a little bit. You didn't get blindsided by this person, by the situation. You got confirmation about who they really are, about where this really would have gone. Because how they handle things in the end, that shows truly who they are. But that doesn't make you stupid for loving them. That doesn't make you weak. That makes you human. You loved. You hoped. You gave it a chance. And how many of you tried to make it work? I'm sure everybody. Yeah. Hello. Just talking about the Three of Swords. You having a good night? But it doesn't make you, it shouldn't. Because you loved, even when you accepted less, you loved. And love isn't stupid. But love is a lesson. When you go through these things, when you get this card, you take what they did and you kind of store these patterns Not really, like it's depressing. Love don't make no sense. No, it doesn't. It's people don't make no sense is really what it is. Just people in general, like, trust me. Trust me, even with all the tarot wisdom in the world, they still don't make sense to me. But this card really, it's not here to destroy you. It's here to wake you up. Because once you see clearly, you know, was it you weren't keeping your promises, or were they expecting too much too fast? Were you trying to build on those promises, trying to meet them, and they were expecting now results? Because well, sometimes you live and you learn, but a lot of times it's not on you. Hello. So if you want to have a question for you specifically for me to answer, you can. Here, I did make a Cash App last night, but I do questions for like one question is like $10. Yeah. Hello. Sorry, I was replying to someone else who was wanting a question. Yeah, I'm doing a collective. But people are wanting questions, so I'm going to just leave this in my comments so that if you want a question, I will answer it later. I will give you like a private video if you want questions. I do private readings. So my private readings are 50 for $5, but if you want, you know. So if you want your own personal question, then that is my Cash App, or I have PayPal. And if you do want to have your own private readings later, LayolaWitch777@gmail.com, which I guess I'll put that in here too. You can always reach me there, and we can talk about that. Okay, and that's the last bit of info I'm going to put out there before I continue on. I gotta get my notes back up. Okay. Anyway, so like I was saying though, this card is not here to destroy you. It's here to wake you up. Because once you see clearly, you don't settle the same way again. You start noticing their inconsistencies faster. You start noticing effort differences faster. You start noticing emotional distance sooner. And the pain, that's what sharpens you. So what do you do with this energy? What do you do with this pain? You feel it. You don't run from it. You don't distract yourself from it. And you don't chase them to avoid it. Like, how many of you have wanted to text them just to stop the pain? You know? But that texting, that clinginess, that ultimately that's going to push them away. When you have to give them space. Like if you want them back, you have to give them space to miss you. You do. And if you're constantly texting them, they're not going to be missing you because you're not giving them the space to miss you. And if they don't, well, that just says everything about them. And that says that you don't need them. And that's the hardest part. Because this card says, don't fix the pain by going back to what caused it. And that's the hard part. Is the one thing you think will remedy it is the one thing that's going to hurt you more. So, I'm almost done, but so let me leave you with this. You didn't imagine it. You didn't overreact. You didn't ask for too much. You just tried to love someone who couldn't meet you where you were. And that hurts. It's kind of supposed to. It's supposed to teach you a lesson. But the pain that you feel, it's not the end of your story. It's the moment you finally start choosing yourself. So, I mean, if you're ready to stop chasing and start choosing yourself, just go ahead and type, I choose me in the chat, And you kind of have to ask yourself when you're going through this stuff, you got to ask yourself, what hurt you more? The silence or their words? Or the actions they chose to give you? Did they change suddenly? Or were they always like this? Do you feel like you got closure? Sometimes closure doesn't always come from them. Sometimes it comes from clarity. And I want you to think about the exact moment everything shifted. Not the whole relationship, not the whole situation, just the moment it started to shift. We all have that's where it started going wrong, because we all replay it, but we can always trace it back to a singular moment that the energy shifted, where they started acting different. And was it something they said? Something they did? Something they didn't do? Silence, distance, tone changes, broken promises. That moment, that's when your heart knew, even when your mind tried to catch up later. But broken promises, well, some people just aren't patient. Because I think as long as you work and strive towards the promises that you make, that you're trying, that should be enough. But some people just expect you to have the world built at your fingertips, and that's just not how it happens. They need to be patient. So, and because the Three of Swords shows up when there's a disconnect, like, I care about you, but there's no effort. I'm here for you, but they disappear. I want this, but they don't show up for it. Love is not what someone says. It's what they consistently do. And I know some of you have a message typed out right now, or one you almost sent. You probably have one sitting somewhere in your drafts. And what were you going to say? Was it, I miss you? Why did you do this? Can we fix this? But the real question is, are you sending that message for closure or for connection? Because those are not the same thing. And another question, who hurt you? Like, what hurt you more? What they did or how they did it? And for a lot of you, it's how it happened. The tone, the timing, the way they handled it, that's what lingers. And let's talk about something people don't. I feel that so deep in my soul. I do. And it's like, you're not just like, this goes back to the whole death thing that I was talking about. You're not just missing them. You're missing the future you built with them. Like, did you have plans with this person? Trips, living situations, ideas about what this was going to become. And so you have to grieve all that. You have to grieve the vision of your life that doesn't exist anymore. And did you see red flags and hope they would change? A lot of you did. And this hope is dangerous in situations like this, because hope says maybe it'll get better, even when the reality says this is what it is. And if they texted you right now, what would you do? Respond immediately? Hesitate? Ignore? Because, and that's kind of where the growth is there. Because part of you still wants them, but another part of you remembers the pain. And that tension that you feel from all this, that's where your power is. And let me say something important. Closure doesn't always come from them. It comes from understanding what happened, what you felt, what you deserve moving forward. Closure is when you stop waiting for an explanation and start accepting the reality. That's kind of all I have to say tonight about the Three of Swords. Heartbreak, suffering, grief, emotional pain, sorrow, hurt, divorce, loss, depression. It sucks, but we all have to go through it at some point. it is part of life. It's part of growing. It's part of lessons. It's part of learning what you deserve, maybe even learning how to show up better the next time, learning not to repeat mistakes. I know I've had to go through that, learning not to repeat mistakes. And the real kicker is, even if you could be the most perfect, understanding, loving person, and they still could, like, some people could still find something wrong with that and just leave. And you just kind of have to accept it. That they think the grass is greener somewhere else, and you have to give them that space to learn that no, it is not. You know? Everyone goes through it at some point. And at some point, everyone is that person that leaves when everything is going perfect. Because maybe you have a deep emotional wound that hasn't been healed yet, and you think, well, they're just going to leave me. Why don't I just go anyway? Even though they were probably never planning on it. We all become that person at least once. Or at least a version of that person. It doesn't have to be that exact scenario. It can be different. But we all hurt, and we get hurt in love, because that is lessons. That is lessons of love. Unfortunately, love is a battlefield for sure, and it hurts. And a lot of you are hurting. I definitely pick up on that. So, anyway, let me see if there's any comments I missed. Anyway, private readings, I do 5 for $50. Contact me at leolawitch777@gmail.com. When this video uploads, I will also put my contact information in the description below after it uploads. My cat is meowing. If you want a reading done during live, I'll do, one question for $10 for a live reading. You have my Cash App, so. And something else that is sticking out to me that Spirit is kind of telling me is some people are putting too much of their happiness on one person. And when you do that, that is a lack of self-love. And that is the emotional wound within you that needs to be fixed. Oh, Ghosty. Sorry, it's my kitty. That is an emotional wound within you that needs to be fixed before you can move on to loving somebody else. Because if you don't love yourself, you are not going to be able to show up for the person that you love in the way that you want. And that's kind of a closing thing that Spirit was wanting me to say. Yeah, Spirit was talking to me about somebody, I don't know who, but I was getting some chitter chatter in my ear. When you rely on somebody for happiness, you have a lot of shadow work to do. You have to heal yourself first. You have to go into the hermit and date yourself. Learn about yourself again. Find what makes you happy when you're alone. Whether it's video games, whether it's reading, whether it's writing, creative, you have to find what brings you happiness. Because if you can't find what brings you happiness, you're not going to be able to find what brings happiness into a relationship. And that's just how it is. You need to be happy on your own before you can be happy with somebody else. And you need to accept yourself before you can even ask somebody else to accept you. You have to accept the deepest, darkest parts of yourself before you can ask somebody to accept you. And that is something a lot of people struggle with. That's something even I struggle with, is self-acceptance. So, well, everybody's coming on now. Well, it's been about 30 minutes. Does anybody have any, questions about tonight, about anything at all? So, but all right. Well, I'm gonna head out now. I hope you all have a very good night. I hope you reflect on what I've said and really sit and think with it. And have a good night, everybody.